Hello, friends! Welcome back to Heroes You Should Know, the double nerd show where I learn about historical figures. Jesus, historical figures we should know, but don't for a plethora of reasons that you can infer because you're smart people. I'm Allegra, and I am very excited to introduce our guest this week. It is our first guest who is not on the Mayday team. It's Carly from Spot Hidden.
Hello.
Hi, pal.
Hello. I'm very excited.
I'm so
We've
glad
said
you're
that like
here.
7 times at this point.
It's been several times, but it doesn't change the fact that we're both excited.
Yes.
So yes, we will be discussing a historical figure. I'll throw it to Carly for their build, and then I'll tell all y'all my build, and then we'll probably be done. We'll probably talk about a couple things in between. But this week we are going to be talking about the Apache warrior woman, medicine woman, seer Lozen. I do want to throw a really quick trigger warning out there. There is violence against women and against Indigenous peoples as a whole. So please take care of yourselves if you need to step away. That's very important. And while we're on this kind of subject, I want to say that Lozen is like kind of a classic example of a hero that we should know about, especially having lived in the United States. And it hasn't been told because the enemies that she is fighting are the controlling powers of the nation, and to acknowledge her is to acknowledge the horrendous conditions she endured, the acts perpetrated against her and her people, and Indigenous folks as a whole, as well as the injustices that the Native populations continue to endure to this day, with basically no consequences to the government. So, like, the idea is, how are you supposed to side with the government who is still in power if they teach you about all the horrible things they did to people that were already here before the government even existed? So they just don't teach it to you, or instead they teach you a very whitewashed, watered down, palatable version of it, like Thanksgiving. So
Gosh.
I mean, so people who are not of Indigenous heritage, to wherever you live, it's your responsibility to learn about the history that you are intentionally denied. Go find information from public sources. I mean, like, reading Wikipedia isn't enough, because I can guarantee you, if it's on Wikipedia, there is public information elsewhere that is far closer to the sources of the and the people that are being affected. And this obviously this goes for all the people we talk about on here, but it is very apparent in this specific case and much closer to home. And I wanted to say it explicitly now. So yeah, there's that. Let me. Oh, looks like I'm not there. Wild. Let's see.
Oh,
Oh,
now you're there,
am I there?
I
Hmm,
think.
wacky. Yeah, there I am. Hey, cool, that's me. Yes. Anyway, so now that we've said all that, let's talk about Lozen, because she's cool as shit.
Oh my gosh, she's so cool.
Um, so she is the brother of the chief of the Chiricahua. The Chiheni band of the Chiricahua Apache. So her brother's name is Victorio, and he's the chief. And he is quoted as saying that Lozen is a shield to her people, and he called her his right hand. So she was, at his side, working with him at all, like for most of their life. And Lozen actually isn't her birth name, but it is a nickname that was given to her that means dexterous horse thief. Her birth name actually isn't known to history. So she was born in 1840. And as I said before, she was a medicine woman, a seer, a warrior, and a battle strategist. And at the point that she is born, it is kind of the peak of the Apache Mexico Wars. And these had started back in the 1600s, although conflicts with indigenous people and colonizers have been going since conquistadors and colonists came across the ocean. And so it kind of spurred from when the Spanish colonists from Mexico started pushing north into what we know as New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, Wyoming, Utah. Um, and it went from the 1600s into the 20th century. Um, and so this conflict eventually also coincides with the Apache Wars with the U.S. government as well. So they're kind of embroiled in this, like, war on all sides from all kinds of adversaries. And at the height of the conflict, which is about where we're at when we're talking about Lozen, there were bounties set for the scalps of indigenous men, women, and children. They would have bounty hunters go out and murder people and then take their scalps, and that would be a bounty, which is incredibly fucked up.
It's so weird too. Like that's the weirdest thing. that you could get as like a
I
bounty. I don't.
I know.
I mean, it's wrong on all levels, but it's also just
Yeah,
weird.
like that. Ugh, awful. So as a child, Lozen wasn't really interested in the traditional duties of a woman in the tribe, and instead she wanted to be a warrior. So with the Apache in particular, gender roles were defined, but not terribly binary and not terribly like hardlined either. There were women that were warriors, and all the children were taught all the roles of the society in case there were some like unforeseen circumstances that arose. So many indigenous cultures acknowledge multiple genders, and people who operated outside of the traditional binary were seen as blessed or special rather than like ostracized. Um, which is cool to hear.
Yes.
So Lozen learned how to ride a horse super early in life. I think it was like 7 years old, and she was riding and doing great things. And eventually became one of the best riders in the Chihene band. She was a gifted markswoman. She was skilled with a knife, and as we said before, an esteemed strategist in battle. And as a kid, she's described as athletic, intelligent, and fearless, and like would roughhouse with the boys rather than do other like tasks that were more traditionally feminine. Um, so her brother sees this, and her brother's, I want to say her brother's like 20-ish years older than her, maybe a little less. Um, but he sees that she wants to like be a warrior and do other things, and he kind of takes her at face value and like takes her in his wing and teaches her what he knows. And so typically in like a raiding party or a warrior band, they unattached, like unmarried women weren't permitted to ride along with them. But Lozen was so skilled and so passionate about it, and so like good at what she did, that there were obviously exceptions made for her. And she was never actually married to a man. Um, so besides her physical prowess, she's also a powerful medicine woman and seer. So she had like a pretty broad knowledge of what kind of herbs to use, and she would sing songs to heal people. And these are kind of gifts that were said to have manifested themselves around the time of her like coming of age ceremony. And another kind of gift that she was said to have had was the ability to detect the approach of enemies. I mean, down to the point that she could tell how far off they were and in which direction they were coming. Super cool.
Wild. Yeah.
Excuse me. So, between her prowess as a warrior and her skills of healing and strategy and knowledge of where the enemy was coming, she's invited to become a member of the Council of Warriors. So they were like the ones who made decisions about where they would fight and how they would fight and all that kind of stuff. And there are even some reports that say she was fighting back against Mexican soldiers from like childhood, from being bitty and just fighting. Which, I mean, if you're surrounded on all sides, and
Yeah.
what choice is there? Which is terrible because she's a kid.
It's man, all this
Ugh.
stuff, like reading all of this that you sent, I'm just like, oh man. Oh man.
Yep. Yeah. reasons I put that little bit at the beginning. I was like, we have to talk about this because
Oh yeah.
we can't not. So the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo is signed in 1848, which basically ends the Mexican-American War in the favor of the United States, and has absolutely no regard for the people already living on the land that they're discussing. So the treaty gives 525,000 square miles to the U.S., which includes present-day Arizona, California, Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, Utah, and Wyoming, as well as parts of Texas. But again, there are already people living there and had been living there for long before settlers ever came. But of course, because it's the government and it is the 1800s, that doesn't fucking matter.
Who cares, apparently?
Yeah, they don't count according to the government. So the treaty signed, homesteaders and settlers and ranchers and prospectors from the US start to push into the area. And the main reason they hadn't done this as much before, one was because of the Mexican-American War, but two, because the Apache were very much against mining and would push back against Mexican settlers like with deadly force to be like, no, you're not, you're not doing this. But now that the U.S. government has taken control of this land that they shouldn't have, they can establish more forts and outposts in the region. And after the Civil War, so the Civil War hasn't happened yet, but after the Civil War, which is later in our story, after that, there are more like ex-soldiers kind of moving out there looking to work at the forts, to prospect, to go out for bounties. Like they're shipping people in to have control of the area. And the Chiricahua Apache are basically boxed in by enemies on all sides between the Mexican cavalry and the U.S. cavalries, either enslaving them or killing them. And so they moved a lot. They fought often. It was a very unstable lifestyle. So we get to 1869, and the U.S. government goes into negotiations with Victorio and several other chiefs of the region, and they agree to settle in Ojo Caliente, which is a traditional homeland of the Chiricahua Apache. It's got a hot spring and water supplies, and so they're like, okay, let's talk this out. Like, if you're gonna be here, we if we have to make this agreement, this is an okay agreement, I guess. Like, I'm sure it's not an okay agreement, but it's one that they'll make to survive, I guess. And so Victorio consults with Lozen, and they eventually agree. But unsurprisingly, like they always do, the government goes, no, actually, we don't like this anymore.
Imagine that.
Wild, right?
No one could have seen that coming.
Super surprised. 2 years later, they're forced to move to Fort Tularosa in 1871. And then they are once again moved in 1877 to concentrate all of the Apache on one reservation in San Carlos, Arizona. So San Carlos is referred to by everyone, including the soldier stationed there, as Hell's 40 Acres. The Apache aren't allowed to hunt. They're given like really shitty, meager rations. It's super crowded. Disease and illness spreads very easily. It's a terrible place. It is a terrible existence. They're stuck there, and it's awful. And so multiple times, Lozen and Victorio lead their band out of the reservation and try to find some kind of safety with their Mescalero allies at the Fort Stanton reservation. But every time, the Mexican American soldiers tail them and like try and get them back, or try and stop them from leaving the reservation. But they evade the soldiers for 3 years, and this time is known as Victoria's War. And in that time, it is just all-out guerrilla warfare against the U.S. and Mexican soldiers. So Victoria's band had a ton fewer warriors than the soldiers pursuing them, but with Lozen's skill to detect enemies and heal, they were able to kind of like hold their own, and they had different ways of fighting, and so they managed to keep their distance and keep themselves alive and keep going. So while Lozen was fighting back against 2 different armies, healing people, detecting where the enemies were coming from, she's also ferrying women and children and elderly people to safety in multiple different locations on multiple different occasions. Like through the desert, through different environments. She's just leading them to get them to safety. One in particular, they're in the middle of the Chihuahuan Desert, which is in like New Mexico, West Texas. And so she delivers this woman's baby in the middle of the desert while they're being chased by Mexican and American cavalries. And then she's like, okay, I'm going to get them out of the desert and to the Mescalero Apache, who are our allies. They'll keep them safe, which is near the Sacramento Mountains. So she has like 3 days supplies of food, a rifle, a knife, a cartridge belt, which is not nearly enough supplies for 2 people.
No.
Getting across the desert. So she sneaks around to the Mexican and U.S. camps and like just casually steals horses and supplies and gets them on their way, gets them across like on her own, newborn baby, new mother. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to go steal some horses. I'm going to steal these horses. I'm going to steal these supplies. Fuck you.
She's so cool. Like, she is so cool.
I can't even, like, she just, And that's like where her that's kind of where her nickname, not this particular instance, but that's where her nickname kind of comes into play, is that she was very much like good with horses and good with like mules and those kind of animals, and she could just get them.
Yeah.
I don't like there was another one that I read that she was in direct, like she was under direct fire, and she just got a mule that was like loaded down with supplies, and just like got him back to her people, and she was like, all right, cool, let's go.
No big deal.
Amazing, incredible.
It's so, gosh.
So it's the fall of 1880, and Lozen is leading yet another group of women children to the Mescalero, and Victorio's remaining band is ambushed by Mexican forces in Tres Castillos, Mexico. Um, and unfortunately, 78 Apache, including Victorio, are killed in this battle. And there are also warriors, elderly, children, women, everywhere, just massacred. It's awful. And then another 100 women and children are captured and or sold into slavery, and only 17 of their band escape. So Lozen gets to Mescalero. She finds out about the ambush, and she rides right back. She's hauling ass. She steals supplies, steals horses from both armies, finds survivors of her band in the Sierra Madres, and she's kind of like gathering them again. And so she meets up with Nana, who was Victorio's kind of successor. And so the skirmishes are continuing, and they are like on a tear for vengeance. So they kill at least 35 soldiers, wound tons more, and take more than 200 horses and mules and supplies, all while not losing a single one of their people, which is incredible.
Oh my gosh.
And after this, they meet up with Geronimo and fight with him for about 2 years. So they're kind of gathering into a bigger band. But of course, the United States Army can't have this, because they have to have control of this land. I don't understand it. Why can't people just be good people? Anyway, they dispatch General George Cook, or George. I'm sorry, not Cook, but Crook, because he is aptly named.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So he's dispatched to capture them in 1883. And so Lozen and another warrior woman who was traveling with Geronimo named, I've seen her name pronunciations written out of Tadotse or Tadoste. And I think I've seen Tadoste a little bit more. So that's what we're going to say. I'm very sorry if it's wrong. I will correct it if I am incorrect. I tried to find pronunciations online and there was nothing. So here we are. So Tadoste is another warrior. She's a mediator. She's also fluent in English and Spanish. So she's like the hub of information distribution. So they're acting as kind of the go-between between Crook and the Apache. And in 1883, they finally agree to return to the fort. But again, conditions haven't gotten any better. It's terrible for them there. It's not safe for them there. So in 1885, Geronimo leads 42 warriors and 92 women and children, including Lozen, Nana, and Tadoste, out of San Carlos again. And then we hit early 1886, where another conference is arranged with Crook, where Geronimo is about to surrender, but instead flees, and they all go with him. And this time, Crook can't keep up with them. So he has several failures under his belt, and finally the U.S. Army's like, no, fuck you. We're sending this new guy in, Nelson Miles. So he's assigned to go after them in the later parts of 1886. So he sends out his own troops, but he also sends nearly 400 other Chiricahua Apache from the San Carlos Reservation all the way to a prison camp in Florida to prevent them from aiding those who are following Geronimo. You know,
Yeah.
Arizona, New Mexico, Florida.
Yeah, where it's completely different weather. Like,
completely different.
I was reading up a little bit on that part of it. They all got so sick from it. Like, everybody was getting so sick because they weren't used to the weather. They weren't used to the atmosphere. Like, there were bugs. They weren't used to bugs.
Yeah, it's just like a shock to the system, not only culturally, but literally physically.
Yeah.
So even though the Geronimo's band is undefeated in battle and they've fucked up the US Army a ton, this is a lot for them to handle. They're on this fight to defend their people and their home, which is hard to do when your people are sent across the country. And at this point, their numbers are somewhere around like 3 dozen. Awful.
Yeah.
So Miles's first lieutenant, Charles Gatewood, is sent to negotiate with Lozen and Tedoste to surrender on behalf of the U.S. Army. Or they surrendered to the U.S. Army. But of course, General Miles takes credit for it and sends Gatewood up to Dakota Territory, so he can't talk. Side note about General Miles, who continues to suck as years go on. He plays a role in the capture of Chief Joseph, in the death of Sitting Bull, and in the Sioux massacre at Wounded Knee. So he's just an unpleasant character in history, and I don't like knowing about him.
Yeah.
So in this truce, the Chiricahua Apache and Geronimo's band are also sent to exile in Florida, where they're to remain for 2 years before they can come back to the land that has been their home forever. So the last part of it is a whole ass lie. They were never intending to let them return. The exile was just to get them out of the area, and like the promise of, oh, in 2 years you can come back, is just to keep them quiet. Which anyway, so this exile even extends to Apache scouts who are allied with the U.S. Army. They have Apache scouts who are like working with them, and they're still like, actually, no, you go too, which is so dirty.
Yeah, that's it. I'm getting angry. I'm actually getting angry.
Yeah, like, I'm trying very hard to keep my emotions in check because it's not my place to get angry about this.
Yeah, same, but
so none of the leaders recognize this as a betrayal until it's too late, and so this is meant to be like a show of good faith. 24 men, 14 women, including Lozen and Tedoste, are in the first group. So they're sent in these overcrowded cattle cars and shipped east. The camp in Florida is overcrowded, again, full of illness and disease and things that they are not used to, including environments and bugs. There's a big old fire truck. Bye, friends. And like they're not supplied well to live. At this point, there are varying reports that Tedoste and Lozen are living together and potentially have like a deeper relationship than that of just friends. It's been discussed in multiple parts of their life, but I think this is the one where they're like, no, they're living together in this POW camp essentially. It's not, like certain, but they're like, from what I was reading, it sounds like they were like together and cared
but
about
also
each other.
History is much gayer than everyone makes it out to be.
So much gayer than everyone makes it out to be. So like probably. So yeah, so they're in Florida, and then Lozen eventually gets sent to a different POW camp in Mount Vernon, Alabama, where she unfortunately passes away of tuberculosis on June 17th, 1889. And then she is buried in an unmarked grave with 50 other Apaches who died at the camp around the same time.
I always get so excited when Alabama is mentioned in something because I'm like, I'm from there, and then I always immediately get disappointed because it's always something like that.
I'm the same way about Arkansas. I'm like, I love Arkansas.
But I was trying to look into Mount Vernon. All the accounts were people like saying, oh, they treated these people so well. And I'm like, did they though? Did they though? I would love to hear actual reports.
Which side of history are you learning this from?
Yeah.
From the government?
Probably.
So Tedoste, for a little bit of a hope, or not hopeful note, but more of an up note, I guess. Tedoste is eventually allowed to return to the Mescalero Reservation in New Mexico, where she remarries, but is said to have mourned Lozen for the rest of her life until she passes away of old age at 95 in 1955. And that's Lozen. She's cool as fuck. She deserves better, and she should be known. So know about her. like usual, this is like base layer. There's so much more information you can find out about her online. Please do it. She's cool as shit.
Oh my gosh. I told you earlier, but I don't know if I said it on stream. I went down like a rabbit hole, like reading about her and then reading about just the Apache people in general, and then Mount Vernon, and then Geronimo, and
it's so easy to go down that like rabbit hole of like this connects to this, connects to this, connects to this, and like finding out the actual history of it is so much cooler than anything we halfway heard in high school.
And I was telling my mom about it. She's like, "Oh yeah, we learned all about Mount Vernon and stuff in Alabama history." And I'm like, "We didn't. Like that was back in the 70s. Apparently they kind of talked about it, but I was like, I had no idea any of this was a thing." So
yeah, that's Lozen. Carly, do you want to show us your build for her?
I will. So I went through so many different versions, so very, very many different versions, and I finally ended up on multi-class fighter and cleric. We have 7 levels in fighter, 3 in cleric, just to kind of get the specific abilities that I wanted to kind of have. So I put her at her subclass for fighter is the cavalier, because I mean, horses. She stole so many horses. She was super into horses, apparently. She was the original horse girl.
Oh no.
Not in a bad way, like in a good way. Horse girls are fun.
Cool horse girls.
So yeah, I put her as cavalier, and she has like this ability that's called Born to the Saddle, which I just love the name of.
Yes.
Let me pull it up. Because I have like the full version on my phone, so I can say a little bit about the abilities, and then I'll get into stats and stuff. I just want to say Born to the Saddle because it's just so cool to hear about. Let me pull it up. You have advantage on saving throws to avoid falling off your mount. If you fall off and descend no more than 10 feet, you land on your feet if you're not incapacitated. So
that's
just
so
the thought
cool.
of her like getting knocked off and just landing on her feet is just very good to me.
Yeah, like falling off and being like, I'm still here to fuck shit up. Like,
yes, like
I can get another horse.
I gave her Nature Domain Cleric because she was a medicine woman and she knew like the herbs and stuff to heal. I felt like that kind of fit.
Yes.
But for her stats, I went with 13 strength. And then dexterity, I have her at 18.
Okay. Ooh, nice.
Because I basically tried to get dexterity as high as I could. Constitution is 8 because I had to have a dump stat and she died of tuberculosis, which is sad, but I feel like she would have had higher constitution than 8, but I couldn't really. The other stats were more of a priority for me, if that makes sense.
No, it's so hard to pick a dump stat for a real person. That's the suckiest part of it. It's like
it really is. And like she was super intelligent, but her intelligence for this I've only put as 12 because I put her wisdom at 17. Because I feel like a lot of her stuff came from experience, so it would kind of make sense to me to have wisdom rather than intelligence. Plus she's a cleric, so we still have to kind of put D&D stats. And her charisma is 10 because once again, semi-dump stat. I gave her a club for one of her weapons.
Ooh.
Because I was reading up about the Apache people, and apparently one of their weapons they would take the jawbone of a buffalo and make it into a club.
Oh,
and like it wasn't mentioned that she specifically used it. I know it said that she like used a knife, but I don't know. I just thought that was like interesting that the Apache people use that. So at some point she probably
I'm sure she knew how to use one. Because everyone was trained like for warrior purposes and for like home purposes. So
exactly. And I also gave her a longbow because obviously. Yeah. Sorry if I'm going on too much about this.
No, please go on as much as you want to. I love hearing this stuff.
So her I just kind of picked a couple spells that she would always like have prepared or whatever from her cleric list. I gave her bark skin because her AC is only 14 because I just gave her basic leather armor because I mean that's what she would have worn. So so I gave her bark skin and then spare the dying because she could heal people. Detect poison and disease, kind of protection from poison kind of goes along with it. And then prayer of healing because I was reading about how she would like do like these songs and she would like sing to the god. I don't remember what like the deity god's name was. It was like I knew it started with the U, but she would like sing and kind of do this like healing song prayer thing, and I was like, that fits.
Yeah.
I wanted to do bard for that, but I don't know, cleric was just calling to me. So
Yeah.
and then I had to get an artisan's tool proficiency because she has the folk hero background, which I forgot to mention.
Yeah.
I thought that fit too because
I gave her folk hero too.
Yeah, she is. So I gave her weaver's tools as her proficiency.
Ooh, nice.
Because the Apache people, like, they made a lot of baskets. That was their big thing, was like basketry. So that was kind of, I know weaving is not the same thing as basketry, but that was kind of as close as I could get. So
yeah, same like general movements, I suppose.
Yes. Oh, and then I forgot feats. She just has medic just to give her proficiency in medicine.
Nice.
Animal handler because I mean she stole so many horses. She was good with horses, and then sharpshooter. So.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah, I think you hit. Oh, what are her big skill proficiencies? Like the things she's super good at.
Yes. So she has +8 to acrobatics.
Nice.
Which is awesome. I wish I would have given her stealth, but I couldn't like make it work with the rest of it.
Yeah.
Animal handling, obviously. I gave her insight.
That's really good for like mediating, I guess.
Right. Plus her whole thing about like being able to detect like people out. So she also has +7 perception, which gives her 17 passive perception. And then she has athletics, but since her strength is not super great, it's not super high modifier. Nature, obviously, medicine. I said perception and survival.
Nice.
So
nice.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a really I feel like you don't see fighter and cleric together a lot, and I like it.
Never considered it until this, and then I thought there's nothing else I can do. So
that's it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yours is very lovely and succinct, and I'm in love with it. Mine is a chaos basket.
I'm so excited.
I started this build with 12 different subclasses open, ranging over 6 different full classes ish. And it took me forever to land on a 4-way multi-class.
Oh man.
So 3 in rogue, 3 in paladin, 3 in ranger, 1 in cleric.
I also considered paladin. I was right there with you on that one.
Yeah. So I tried to build it kind of chronologically in a way. So I started out with rogue. So I gave her scout for rogue. Which would give her which she has 2d6 sneak attack. And then I didn't click on the hold on. Sorry. User error. Big dum dum. So she has skirmisher, which means she's difficult to pin down during a fight, and you can move half your speed as a reaction if there's an enemy in 5 feet of you, and they don't get an attack of opportunity, which is
so good.
Cool as hell. She also gets survivalist, which means she's just proficient in nature and survival as skills if she doesn't already have them. And the proficiency bonus is doubled for any check you make with those. Speaking of her stats and everything, so her strength is at 14 because I need it up there for paladin. Dexterity is a 15 for rogue and ranger. I waffled back and forth about constitution and intelligence too. I gave her a 13 in intelligence just because she has such an incredible vast knowledge of like herbs and stuff and nature. And nature's an intelligence skill. So I thought that was probably most important. Constitution's an 11, which is nothing to sneeze at. It's just not special.
Right.
Wisdom's at 16 and charisma is at 9 because you have to have it on. So I realized that because I did this ridiculous 3-3-3-1 thing, I don't get any stat bumps.
Oh no.
So she's just at these base stats that she gets from being a human. And I did make her a variant, which would give her lucky, which I thought fit really well for her like seer abilities. So yes. So she's got scout for rogue, and then for paladin I gave her Oath of the Ancients, which is...
I literally had that, and then I completely remade it. It's so perfect for her.
because she's like her devotion to her people and to like the land and
Yeah.
everything is such like an innate part of her that I was like, okay, well, we have to have something that has to do with this. And then Ranger, I did Monster Slayer because
Yes.
go after those soldiers, baby.
Go.
And
I
Monster
don't know
Slayer
why
just
that was
fit the
so
best.
funny.
And then her cleric is a War Domain Cleric. Have to. I tried to build it as like, okay, what are the two classes that she would have had if she didn't have to deal with fighting these two armies for her whole life? And then what would she have taken when she had to like make the like change and be like, I have to like be a part of this. So I tried to balance it in that kind of way.
I love it.
So she gets, yes, I already said sneak attack, cunning action, skirmisher, and survivalist. And then for paladin, she gets, divine sense, lay on hands, a fighting style, which I gave her defense just to pump her AC a little bit. It's still only a 14, but anything helps. Divine health, so she can't be poisoned, or divine smite, and then her channel divinity is nature's wrath, which means you can basically have a spectral vine to spring up on a creature within 10 feet of you that you can see, or they have to succeed on a strength or dex saving throw or be restrained, which is cool as hell. And then
good.
I know, and then turn faithless, which is sorry, you kind of emit this holy presence basically, and your enemies within 30 feet, or I'm sorry, Fey or Fiend within 30 feet of you have to make a wisdom saving throw, and if they're not, they are turned for a minute or until they take damage. So they just have to get the fuck away from you.
Yep.
Which is awesome.
So good.
Ranger. Ranger, she is a monster slayer. So she obviously her favorite enemies are monstrosities. There's natural explorer, so she doesn't get slowed down by anything. Fighting Slayer, I gave her archery, which is a +2 for any ranged weapons. Which she used a rifle and a knife primarily, and if you're throwing a knife, it's ranged, and a rifle is definitely ranged. So it's just a lovely little extra.
Yep.
And then so Hunter's Sense. Hunter's Sense is basically her being able to tell where the enemies are. It's you learn whether the creature has any damage immunities, resistances, or vulnerabilities. If they're hidden from you, you know where they are. Like you can basically tell where they are. That, along with primeval awareness, basically give her like the same abilities she would have had in real life. And then Slayer's Prey. So you focus your ire on one foe and increase the harm you inflict on it. And as a bonus action, you can basically pick one creature that takes an extra d6 of damage.
So
which
good.
Is cool. Yeah. So Slayer's Prey is the reason I didn't give her Hunter's Mark as a ranger, which I like am abhorrently against. I'm like, if it's a ranger, you have Hunter's Mark. God damn it.
Exactly. You have to.
You have to. And
Legally,
then I was like,
you have to.
But I don't want to give her Hunter's Mark because she has this.
Yeah. This is so much cooler than Hunter's Mark. Like, yeah. As much as I love it.
It's very personalized and very, like, particularly fuck you.
Yes.
And then for War Domain Cleric, she only has one, or I guess two things from it for right now. There's a bonus proficiency, which is you get martial weapons and heavy armor, which doesn't really apply to her. But War Priest, which basically lets you use a bonus action to do another weapon attack, which is cool.
Yeah.
Especially for like being a first level. Like if you're just like a first level cleric and you're a war cleric and you can attack on a bonus action too, that's pretty fucking cool.
That's so good.
So yeah, so those are like her main abilities she has. Like I said, I gave her a rifle and a dagger, both of which are +8 to hit. So because of expertise as a rogue.
Oh, I already know this is gonna be stupid. I'm so excited.
It's so I was like, this is dumb. This is dumb for a 10th level character. Her stealth is a +10 and her survival is a +11.
So good.
I know. And then I also gave her sleight of hand, because she, great at stealing shit from shitty armed people. Perception's +7, nature's +5. Insight is +7. Why did I put an asterisk next to that? Can't remember. Oh well.
Who knows?
Past me had an idea.
Oh, I think it comes from. Is it from being a cleric or from a paladin? Don't they get
that
something
might
with
be
insight?
it? That might be it. Ranger? It might be from being a ranger. No, it's not
something.
ranger.
Something gets something for insight. I remember reading that at some point.
It's something important. But brain squish. And then her animal handling is +7. And also because she's a folk hero, she has proficiency with vehicles, and I took vehicles to mean horses and mules, so there's that.
There's that.
And so now we come to the part where I have a stupid amount of spells for no apparent reason. I have 10. I have 15 spells and 6 spell slots.
Yep.
I don't have anything that's a second level spell because of the way that things worked out. I'm only technically a third level spellcaster, and
I think no. Yeah, I'm only a first, so she wouldn't have prayer of healing. Oops. It's fine. We're not playing with it. It's fine.
Yeah, this is all for our purposes of making cool things out of cool people.
Yes.
So
multi-classing, man.
4-way multi-classing is the dumbest thing I've ever done.
That sounds painful. I will
was
never
sitting at lunch
past
and I was like, what am I doing? Why did I do this? Why did I pick 4? But also, I'm glad
it's so worth it. Yes.
Yeah. So for cantrips, she has guidance and thaumaturgy, because I think thaumaturgy would be super useful in like guerrilla warfare. And then so she has, for paladin, ranger, and cleric, she has spells that she automatically gets that don't count against like her known spells or anything like that. So for paladin, she has ensnaring strike and speak with animals, super helpful. And then for ranger, she has protection from good and evil, also super helpful. And then for cleric, she has divine favor and shield of faith. And then for her cleric spells, I picked bane and bless for maximum help and or destruction. Cure wounds and create and destroy water, especially because they're hanging around in the desert. And or in these terrible conditions, like she needs access to that. And if she can just create it herself, awesome.
Perfect.
For paladin, I gave her heroism, wrathful smite, and purify food and drink. And then for ranger, animal friendship, good berry, and alarm.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm very pleased with it. It again, chaos basket, but functional.
I was looking at like scout, subclass, rogue, multi-class into an Oath of the Ancients paladin. Like that was my other one.
Like there were so many cool options and cool directions you could have taken this. It was really hard to like tally it down.
I even had like a monk at one point thrown into the fray. Like,
I like it.
And it was like, oh, that doesn't really fit the weapons, but
yeah, I had like a wildfire druid, and I was like, that doesn't totally, like, she doesn't do anything with fire, but like the idea of destruction to like make things better, that was kind of where I was like,
There's also vengeance paladin, because the whole thing of like her just murdering,
setting out
as she should.
Shit up.
Yeah.
Oh, what was her HP like?
Mine was 70.
Oh, no, mine was 72.
So pretty close.
Yeah. And then just because I can't help myself, if I had been able to give her a feat, I would have gone with either alert, healer, mounted combatant, mobile, or sharpshooter.
See, I didn't have to worry about the mounted combatant because I had the cavalier. So
cavalier was one of the ones I had pulled up, and then I was like, I want other things though.
Yeah. I forgot to mention too, there's one called warding maneuver.
What's that?
She can at 7th level, you learn to fend off strikes directed at you, your mount, or other creatures nearby. If you are a creature you see within 5 feet of you is hit by an attack, you can roll 1d8 as a reaction if you're wielding a melee weapon or a shield. Roll the dice, add the number rolled to the target's AC against that attack. If the attack still hits, then it has resistance against that damage.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
that's cool as hell.
It's stupid. It's so good.
I've never played a fighter. I have played a paladin. I haven't played a fighter or a cleric. I played the others we've mentioned I've played, but those two I haven't played. And I'm like, Now do I have to play the? Damn it! I have to play these now.
I never have played. The only thing I've never played is a wizard, and I never will.
I
Like
have one idea for one wizard, and that's it.
That's
Like
it.
I have one idea for one wizard and one idea for one bard, and that's all I'm ever gonna play of either of those. High
Good
charisma
old
and high
bard.
intelligence scare the shit out of me.
Same. Good old bard I have named Edmund Fitzgerald is just,
Oh, I love him. I don't know what he does, but I love him.
He's dumb. He's just a dumb man.
As he should be. Yeah, so that's basically our whole gig here, gang. Thank you, Carly, so much for joining me. This was fantastic.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Human. I'm so glad you're here. Is there anything that you want to like plug or talk about or any of it?
Spot Hidden.
Yeah.
I'm on that. If you guys don't watch that, you totally should. It's we do it Tuesday nights at I'm trying to do Pacific. I don't know. It's 7 Central, 8 Eastern, so 5 Pacific. Yes, 5 Pacific. Yeah. Time zones are awful. Yeah. They're doing. I'm not going to be in it, but Friday night we're playing with Mark. They're playing with Mark Meir, which is so cool.
That's
so
awesome.
Commander Shepard's going to be there, and he sent pictures of his character inspiration today that I will not mention, but it is not at all what you'd expect for a gothic horror thing. So it's going to be something else. So yeah.
Y'all are still going with Dark Academia, right? With Rowan.
Yes. Rowan, good old Rowan Kirby.
Yeah.
She is. Oh God, she's getting worse and worse at everything.
As we do in Call of Cthulhu and like Delta Green, like there's no getting better. It's only worse.
It's only getting worse because you just get more desperate. So.
Yeah, Sergio's been talking about like certain things about the second arc of Doom to Repeat, and I'm like, I'm not ready for this.
I'm not ready to finish the first one. Like I got to a point where I just had to pause, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna come back to this later.
That's fair. Sometimes I wish we could pause, and I could be like, okay, I need to gather myself from this. Gotta keep going.
This is the highest compliment. You guys stress me out.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you guys for joining us on this lovely Wednesday evening. Check out Carly and the whole gang on Spot Hidden. They're lovely humans. And as for us, we are still on our Ashoka hiatus, which we'll be returning from on May 14th. But Mondays, you can hang out with Aaron on the sheep farm. He's still going through, what's it called? Assassin's Creed. I think it's 3. He's in the Revolutionary War. It's 3. Thank you. Tuesdays, Sergio does some Ironsworn stuff. Wednesdays, alternately, I'll be back in a couple weeks with another friend and another cool person you should know about. The list continues to be super hella long, but please give me more. If there are more people you want me to talk about, I love hearing them. So hit me up with them in chat. Hit me up with them in what's it called? Social media. Jeez. Just let me know. And also, I say this every week, I do D&D because it's the one I'm most comfortable building in, but if you have a suggestion of a system for me to build in, I would love to try something new. I'm woefully unaware of many, many different types of TTRPGs, but I'm trying to learn more. So if you have thoughts about ones that would be important to do, let me know. And then Fridays, we've been doing kind of a smorgasbord of content. I think this Friday we're going to be playing some kind of game on the computer together, rather than a chaos one shot. It's just going to be chaos computer games together. Yeah, and that's about it. Thank you again for being here, my friend.
Thank you again for inviting me.
Yeah. Yes. All right, friends, have a lovely evening, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.